Fear Forest. I've only told 2 people about this. Now I'm telling everybody. I have no choice, it's consuming me. My brother believed me. He was sure it was someone physically messing with me. My son believed me. When after 800 hours of research, I came up with my invisible Bigfoot theory. Now he too is scared of the forest. Personally, I lean towards demons, aliens, or cloaked military forces. It was another beautiful day, a beautiful fall day. I had the day off work, and I just moved into a new home in an area I had grown up in. It was nice to be back in the old neighborhood, close to great hiking trails, creeks, and the waterfall. I took off down the old Indian trail. I knew it like the back of my hand. As children, all the neighborhood kids played in the creek and forest. As teenagers, we spent every summer day there and nights. When my children were young, I had them there every weekend. As teenagers, they as well hung out there with their neighborhood friends. When I reached the end of the steep trail, which stops at the creek, I sit on the rocks, lay back, take a break, and stare at the sky. It was a perfect blue and yellow day, not one cloud in the sky and the sun shining proudly on the world. I thought about that. I was sitting there just relaxing, contemplating life. I was thinking what a beautiful, perfect place we live in. We have it all. I stood up to walk along the creek to reach the waterfall at the end. I took a few steps and stopped. I just stood there, frozen. Looking in front of me, there was nothing. I still stood there. I couldn't go any further. I could sense something. Then, this overwhelming thought came into my head, loud and clear. It said, "You're not perfect. Humans will always have fear. Fear will destroy you." Something made me run. I was overcome with fear like I've never felt in my life. Something was there. I couldn't see. It was chasing me. I ran back the way I came at top speed, panic speed, run for your life speed. Yet it was chasing me. I heard steps, not like normal steps, but exactly like little rocks or stones lightly landing on the forest floor without rolling or rustling the leaves. As I'm running back up the trail, I glance back. I see nothing, still running in a panic. I start to think this is ridiculous. I don't scare easy. I stop on the trail, turn around, and stand looking. Within a split second, I can still hear the steps following me, yet I can't see anything unusual. I run and reach the top. I'm 5 minutes from home. I run home. I call my brother. Of course, my brother believed me. He heard from the fear in my voice. He was quite sensible about the whole thing. He suggested that it was teenagers fooling around like we used to all those years ago. Or he suggested it might be a creepy man who was watching me. I agreed with him, but knew different. I must be losing my mind. I go see my priest. I can't tell him. I tell him I'm stressed and not sleeping well. I tried a little to veer the conversation towards souls and spirits. He resisted. I left. Convinced there's something wrong with me, I go see a doctor. I couldn't tell him the real story. What if he said I was schizophrenic? I had a full physical. Now I can't sleep. My perfect, content life seemed rattled by something. I have no idea what it could be. I lose my job and new house. I don't walk anymore. I used to walk 2 hours a day. My friends and family don't call anymore. A year later, in my new home, I start to search for answers on the internet. I'm not the only one. I find things similar to my experience. Dave's missing 411, Stephen Hawking's claims to have caught one in 1973. What is this? I traveled the world, backpacked and hiked where people don't go. I camp alone. I have no fear. I'm a world traveler. How has this topic eluded me for so long? I wanted to contact someone for so long. But honestly, who could you tell this to? The Bigfoot hunters I looked into are dicks. Dave P. seems reputable, but how do I contact him? I wonder if a hypnotist could find out more info in me than I can recall. I've tried to write this hundreds of times but couldn't. I have to now see if it will promote change. Something did communicate with me that day and chased me out of the forest in a feeling of pure dread. I don't know if I'll ever be the same. Humanoid entity with tails. I need help identifying an entity that my friend and I saw 2 years ago. I have no idea what this thing was, and lately it keeps popping into my mind and it's really been bothering me. Any speculation on what this thing was would be great. Sorry, this might be a bit long. About 2 years ago, during late July and early August, my friend, I'll call her E, and I were walking along the beach about 10 kilometers away from where we both lived at the time. We live in a quite temperate climate, so not too far off from the beach is a dense forest that stretches along most of the coast. Since it was around 3 p.m. and the sun was at its peak, it was getting pretty hot outside, and E told me she wanted to walk closer to the forest to walk in the shade for a bit. I told her I didn't want to, because there was usually a lot of black widow nests between the beach and forest, and suggested that instead we walk closer to the water. E told me she didn't want to walk near the water because she was wearing shoes and didn't want to get them wet since she had to drive us home later on. Eventually, she got me to go walk near the forest with her, and about 15 minutes through, I started getting really weird feelings. It's hard to explain, but it just felt like something was off. I noticed E was fidgety, and she asked me if I felt like I was being followed or if it was just her. I then started looking around us, and when I looked towards the forest, I saw what I thought was a silhouette of a person, slightly hunched over behind a tree deeper into the foliage. As I looked closer, I saw it had these long claw-like fingers, and multiple fluffy or maybe spiky black tails all swooshing around. It was at this point that me and E started freaking out. This thing then turned its head to look in our direction, and started slowly walking or limping towards us. As it walked, it looked like it was flickering in and out of existence almost, as if it was disappearing. My friend and I ran the hell out of there and went to our car. A few minutes later, we convinced ourselves that we were just seeing things, and worked up the nerve to go back to where we saw it, but it was gone. So what the hell was that thing? At first, I thought maybe it was a shadow person, but I've had an experience with one of those before, and it was nothing like this. Little dude who followed me home. These weird events happened to me in early 2014, in Tujunga, a small town on the edge of the Angeles National Forest outside Los Angeles, California. Actually, this is just the first of a series of events that occurred during my stay in this wonderful but dark little town, whose longtime residents call its weird energy the Veil, and claim that it helps them keep the property developers away. I ride horses and have a dressage horse who needs a lot of attention. At the time, I was keeping him at a wonderful little barn in the Angeles National Forest, near my apartment in town. For context, I'm a 5'9" athletic beef castle of a girl. I ride rank horses, can take a punch, and even though I'm politically very progressive, go Bernie, I have a sort of red state vibe. I'm originally from Kentucky, love guns. I drive an old Dodge 2500, and have generally sauntered through life, feeling stupidly unafraid of most things, and greatly overestimating my own abilities. Like the quintessential American dumbass, I'm one of these people who is sure they would have one fear factor like no problem. I was often the last person to leave the barn late at night, and would turn all the lights off, making the place pitch black. Darkness has never bothered me, and I sometimes hiked alone at night on the fire roads. For several months, this awful bitch of a horse trainer kept this beautiful horse named Irish penned up in a miserable box stall at the back of the property, in constant pain due to a serious medical problem. He broke my heart. I spent about an hour every night with him, holding his massive head and assuring him things would be better soon. He was truly a sublimely wise and kind being. It was as if he wanted to comfort me too, because I was just so sad for him. Fuck. Thinking about him now, my eyes are burning. That situation can really hurt me deeply. I and many other confronted the old bitch about putting him down, but she refused, and animal control were useless. It was an affront to everything that is good and decent in the universe to keep this horse in pain and isolated. If I ever get a terminal illness, maybe I'll track her down and get her. Anyways, one night, I came out to care for my own horse and Irish's stall was empty. He had finally been put to sleep. Thank God. I was so relieved. A weight lifted from my shoulders and I imagined him in the next world, restored to youth and in tall grass. I worked my horse, groomed, fed, and put him to bed. As usual, I was the last person there. It was about 9:30 p.m. I walked down the little road that ran between the horse curls and turned off all the perimeter lights, the farm becoming dark, as usual. Only not as usual this time. Every fiber in my being was alive with adrenaline. Something is here with me. Fuck. 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 Frozen. Listening. The horses making their usual sounds, shuffling in their wood chip bedding, obscuring any sounds this thing could be making. I slowly reach inside my sports bra and thin switchblade I keep under my right boob. Something is here! Something is behind me. In the back area of Irish's old stall, mountain lion? Unlikely. It must be a meth head from the river wash hiding out. Plan to rob, rape, kill me once the lights go down? No. It doesn't feel like that. But it must be that, right? It has to be. So I say, "What's up, motherfucker? You wanna bang heads with me, bitch? You wanna get perforated tonight? Let's go." Nothing. I don't think this is human. Panicking inside, I tried to move stealthily down the little road, sticking tight to the row of sheds, staying off the road itself. I had a huge new F-150 at the time, and as I got closer, I got my keys out, hit the remote that lit up all the lights, and I just ran for it. Really ran, like fucking something is on me, and this could be life or death. I get in, lock it, and fishtail out of the dirt lot. For some reason, I didn't want to drive home. I turned the radio on, drove around the neighborhood, caught my breath, and somehow managed to convince myself I'm just a dumb girl who's probably about to go on her period and let her imagination run away from her. I finally park it and go upstairs to my apartment. My roommate was already asleep with her door closed. I brushed my teeth and fell asleep with my sweet old cat. At some point in the middle of the night, my ancient rescue cat wakes up and starts growling this really boss bitch growl like, "Get the fuck out of my room, dickhead," focused on the door of the bedroom. I go back to sleep. I had a series of terrible dreams that kept waking me up, but the only one I remember was that little troll-like spirit had moved into the apartment with us. He was about 3 feet tall, he was invisible, but had an outline kind of like the Predator, so you could perceive his form. He had short little stubby legs, Hobbit-style big feet, he was portly, and he had big, ugly, pointy ears that went past the top of his bald head. His arms were skinny, and he had claw-like hands. That was his shape, and he was a very nasty little spirit. The next morning, on the drive into the office, I called my roommate. Not wanting to prompt her, I simply asked, "Hey girl, how'd you sleep?" And she said, "I had the worst dream, dude. It was like this little midget guy moved into our apartment, sort of like a ghost or something, and we couldn't get rid of him. It was awful." I nearly rear-ended the car in front of me when she said that. I told her everything that happened the night before, and she was pretty stunned. I said I called my dear friend Will, who has a degree in Ayurvedic medicine, to see what he says. Will explained that in some Eastern traditions, it is believed that any soul who dies in pain is reincarnated as a negative entity who carries the rage and an injustice of a situation into the next world. So, if you carry that to its logical conclusion, Irish, the beautiful being who passed away, had been transmuted into this ghastly little fucker and attached himself to me, following me back to my apartment. Well, fuck. And let's just unpack the whole thing for a moment. So, a kindly soul is tortured for months until he dies, and instead of receiving merciful healing, he is turned into a shitty demon who tries to be my third roommate? Yeah, great system. Fuck you, God. Fucking dick. Will suggested that my roommate and I do the standard burning of the sage. No idea why that always the go-to move in hauntings, but we did it. We were both super uneasy in the flat, and the cats were edgy. He gave us instructions to do a meditation that night before bed. It involves imagining that your whole body it is filled with pure white light. Then you fill the aura around you with this light. Then you fill the whole room with this light. Then Tujunga, then the state of California, then the earth. And finally, you fill the entire known cosmos with this white light, and it pushes the negative entity outside of our realm, and we wish them a smooth transition to a safe and healing place where their karma can be cleansed, so they can have peace. I mean, it sounds like woo-woo shit, but honestly, it was very comforting and felt great to do it. The next day, all seemed to be well. The cats went back to being barely awake, and neither of us had any bad dreams. I mean, what bothers me the most about this story isn't the little dude who moved into my house, or the fact that I had to challenge my whole notion of objective reality and the existence of spirits or whatever. It's the idea that there is no justice in the cosmos. It's all just a bunch of weird, casually cruel dicks who do that to a sweet old horse. It's really just unsettling as fuck. I'm an atheist Jew, but this made me realize that deep down I believed in, or took for granted, that there was some sort of fundamental goodness at work in the universe. Nope. Think again. It's all just an ice-cold shithole. And no matter how good you are in this world, you'll probably get fucked in the next. So that's just real swell. That's the real horror of this story. And it does haunt me. Everyone you ever loved, your grandparents, your mother, your first pet. Who knows what ghastly abomination they are today. So that's my paranormal story. Sorry for the long-windedness of this post. I have no excuse. I'm just long-winded. I do apologize. Same goes for the swearing.